Good evening. This is a public meeting of the Lowell Zoning Board of Appeals for June 24th, 2013. Tonight we have 4 matters before us, and I would like to remind everyone, if you plan on speaking for or against a petition, that you please sign in at the podium before addressing the board. Our first order of business is under new business. This is ZB 2013-16. This is a special permit and variance. The applicant is Hazelwood Hopkins. Property is located at 732 Rogers Street. And the petition is to install a new freestanding sign for an existing auto dealership pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, ma'am. How are you?
Waiting for my colleague to arrive
Sure.
from the dealership.
What we can do is we'll go to the next petition.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next petition we'll entertain is ZB 2013-17. The petition's a special permit for signs. The applicant is Advanced Auto Parts. Property is located at 1190 Bridge Street, and the petition to install new internally illuminated signage for Advanced Auto Parts pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are we doing?
Good.
I'm just gonna sign myself in here real quick.
Sure.
I apologize for not doing this before. I'll try and make this short and quick so we can go home for the Bruins game tonight.
I didn't know there was a game.
All right, so what we're requesting here for the Advanced Auto Parts is for internal illumination of all signage for actually both locations, but we'll address obviously the 1190 Bridge Street location first. I do have some additional artwork to hand out, if I may hand that out at this time.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right. Let's see, it should be enough copies. Who all needs copies?
Absolutely. Yep. Thank you.
If I could have you turn to page 2. What we've done here is we've overlaid on a Google Street aerial view exactly where these two signs will be located for this location. A is the 100 square foot wall sign. B is the refacing of the existing of the existing pylon sign. On page 3, you'll see a comparison of what's there now and what we are proposing. We're actually reducing square footage, reducing letter height, reducing the overall branding of the site, and we're changing from open-face neon illumination to internally illuminated fluorescent lighting. So it'll be a more consistent look, a lot cleaner than what's currently there, a lot easier to maintain as well. The next page is page 4. We have day and night photos of a location we've recently rebranded. As you can see, the signs really are not anything overpowering, nothing that's going to glare or distract drivers. It's actually going to improve the wayfinding at night, especially here on the East Coast with in the wintertime it getting dark, 4:30 p.m. It's going to be necessary for motorists to see that sign in advance so they can make the turn necessary to get to the site properly. On page 5, what we've done here is actually called out, once again, this is the pylon sign, existing, proposed, nothing's changing except for color scheme. And then the last couple pages are just schematics, kind of show exactly how it's illuminated, how it's attached, things of that nature. In conclusion, we're actually upgrading the site by reducing branding, reducing the overall signage and the illumination output there, and upgrading from the neon, exposed neon to the enclosed fluorescent tubing. And we will fit in with the corridor as it is a commercial corridor, and others in the area do have internal illumination. I will be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Okay. Did you get a chance to look at the comments from the DPD from the city of Lowell regarding the proposal?
Yes, sir, I did.
Okay.
And just, I'm sorry, I just want to bring up the fact that that red area is not illuminated. The only illumination there is the lettering. So,
Okay. All right. Okay, anything else you want to add at this point?
no, sir.
Okay. I'm going to open it up to the public. Anyone here that likes to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? In favor? Hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Anyone here like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none. That portion of the public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Van?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Through you, I think this new sign looks a lot better. As the applicant said, it overall aesthetics, it pops well, and you said only the actual letters will be lighted, not the actual background.
Correct. Just the lettering is the only thing that will illuminate.
Okay. No, this is a good application. So that's all the comments I had. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Van. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple questions on the pylon sign.
Yes, sir.
But I think what you've done on the building sign makes a lot of sense. I think that especially decreasing the size of the lettering and increasing the consistency of the illumination going to the backlit versus the neon. The pylon sign, though.
Yes, sir.
So on page 5, you show a pylon sign comparison. I'm curious, at night, when the existing pylon sign's lit, what are we looking at? Just the letters illuminated? Or
If you, I apologize, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if you do turn to the previous page, that sign that you see on the right-hand side of the night shot there, that's what will be seen.
So I'm asking more about what's existing?
Oh, it's existing? Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize. I honestly do not know. I'm from out of the area. I've never driven by this site at night. Today's my first day here in town. I would assume, based on what we've done in the past, that the whole thing illuminates, as does what we're proposing. Obviously, with the black, it kind of doesn't really, isn't as translucent as the red might be. However, the illumination with the white in the background of the existing sign, well, the illumination output should be just about the same.
I guess the way I'm reading it is there's a significant difference going to the larger backlit red panel versus the backlit black.
Well, it'll be the same type of illumination and everything in that. It's nothing that will overpower or blind motorists as they're driving by. It's very subtle.
I think the size of it is relatively modest, being only 4 feet wide, so I think that I feel better about that, but there is a change. You are using fluorescent bulbs instead of LED. Can you
Yes, sir.
explain why?
That's what Advanced Auto Parts has done at their locations recently. They haven't really experimented with LEDs too much, that I know of at least.
Okay, all right. It's a nice upgrade over what you have, so that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. I look at the square footage and as the signage is not that significant. I do want to thank you for the well-prepared package. I do have the concern and hesitation of my colleague regarding the LED.
Okay.
Obviously, we would like to see LED moving forward with all signs in the city. Is it a company policy or is it something?
I do have permission from Advanced Auto Parts. If that's one of the conditions that they can continue in internal illumination, we can try and put LEDs in there.
Okay.
I guess they've done it with a couple locations. It was more experimental, but definitely if that's a condition, we can meet that.
I will be placing that as a condition
Okay.
in concert with my colleague, Mr.
Okay,
McCarthy.
absolutely.
The second question is hours of illumination.
What's that? Hours of
Hours of
illumination will be, It was listed on that, we 2 hours, typically 2 hours before
Right.
open and 2 hours after.
Okay.
We will meet all code.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
I have no further comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Well, in regards to the illumination and the LED versus what you were proposing, we have that same issue with other proposals. So
Okay, yeah,
I feel like
absolutely. I understand.
This is in relationship to your petition here. We have the same
Oh, yeah.
issue. So, no, I think, I mean, I took a ride out there, and obviously, I understand what the company's trying to do. I think, to me, it'll actually dress it up even better.
Yeah.
Not that the signs are falling apart or decrepit, but I think, a freshening up probably would fall in line. We've had a couple other signs on that street, so this seems to be falling in harmony. Joe, I know I was looking at the comments that were made here. I think we addressed everything that the city had a concern with. Was there anything, to your knowledge, that?
No, that should about cover it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so with that said, I'm in favor of this. I think we have a couple of conditions that we spoke about, so we'll review those first. Gary, you want to? Yeah, so we got the LED lighting and then the hours illumination. Those will be the two conditions.
Absolutely.
Those, okay. So if I could have a motion, please.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to make a motion in the matter before ZB 2013-17 at 1190 Bridge Street for a special permit. Make a motion to approve with the following conditions. The petitioner will ensure LED lighting is utilized in both signs, and the hours of illumination will not exceed 2 hours past their posted closing time.
Have a second?
Second.
Second the motion.
A roll call?
Mr. Hearn,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Bailey,
Approved with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy,
Approve with conditions?
Mr. Peck,
Approve the conditions?
Mr. Perrin.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions. We'll move to the next petition, which also applies to, this is ZB 2013-18. The petition is a special permit for signs. The applicant is Advanced Auto Parts. Property is located at 1695 Middlesex Street, and the petition to install new internally illuminated signage for Advanced Auto Parts pursuant to section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. And if I can just ask for one point of clarification. SES, is that who you represent?
Yeah, we are the authorized sign agent for Advanced Auto Parts. We do all the permitting and meetings.
So
and
Joe,
stuff.
just a quick question. They reference 1647.
That's the unit number. The whole parcel number is 1695, and that's
Okay.
what we have to
I
advertise
just
under.
want to make sure, so 1695 is correct?
Yep.
All right, okay. Go ahead, sir. Why don't you tell us about your proposal?
Same thing here. I do have basically almost the exact same artwork to hand out.
Sure. Yep. Thank you.
So once again, on page 2 there, overlay exactly where those signs will be in recognition with a Google overlay. A being the wall sign, B being the freestanding sign. That is actually a multi-tenant panel. We will be refacing with our current branding. Page 3, nothing really changing except for the color scheme and obviously the changing from the neon illumination to the fluorescent or obviously LEDs, which is what would like to be seen by the city. And once again, those do not illuminate either, the red panels in the background. Page 4 is day and night photos once again. 5 is what's existing there for the freestanding sign and what we're proposing, exact same size. I honestly do not know what that illumination is of that freestanding sign. That's the center sign, not our sign, so we would obviously keep the same illumination that's there. And then the last couple pages are once again schematics. So this is also in a commercial corridor. Others in the area have the internal illumination that we're requesting. We will accept the conditions of LED lights if that's obviously what the city would like to go with.
Okay, anything else you'd like to add, sir?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll open up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor, hearing none. Portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? In opposition? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Van?
Same comments. It looks better, very upgraded. The aesthetic looks nice. So I support this petition. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dennis?
I think with the exception of adding the LED as a condition, I think that this package looks very good. And I think it's a successful location, so I look forward to seeing more
absolutely.
success with new signage. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Dennis. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the petition, I appreciate the completed packages. It's always nice to have those in front of us, and we will make that concert condition of the LED lighting
Absolutely.
and stay with the illumination hours as requested in your
Yep.
petition.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I agree that just getting the visual overlay of some of the pictures helps give a little bit perspective of what you're trying to accomplish. But other than that, I have no further comments as long as it's the same as the last proposal. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so the only difference here is the condition, we're just talking about the LED, because I believe he stated they're not controlling the hours of
Correct.
illumination, correct? Okay. Yeah, okay. All right, so can I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZB 2013-18 at 1695 Middlesex Street. Make a motion to approve for a special permit with one condition. Petitioner uses LED lighting in the signage.
Second,
Second the motion?
roll call.
Mr. Hearn,
Approve with condition.
Mr. Bailey,
Approve with condition.
Mr. McCarthy,
Approve with condition?
Mr. Peck,
Approve with conditions?
Mr. Perrin.
Approve with condition.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions. Wish you the best of luck with both
Hey.
petitions.
Thank you,
Yep.
Chairman. Thank you,
you.
Board.
Thank
Go
you.
Bruins. Wasn't sure if I dropped it or. You guys have a nice night.
She's still on hold, okay. Okay, we're gonna go to our next petition, which is ZB 2013-19. The petition is a special permit. The applicant is David Labasi. The property is located at 210 Mammoth Road. Petition to operate a home office for the purposes of providing legal services pursuant to section 4.3.4 of the zoning ordinance. Good evening, sir, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good evening.
What would you like to tell us about your proposal?
The proposal that I have is to operate a law office out of my house. The house is, I believe it's about 2,600 square feet. It has plenty of parking. It's on Mammoth Road, mostly in a two-family area. There are some other businesses within a couple blocks. I think one is a real estate office. The other is, I think, a phone company or somebody that sells wireless phones just moved in or put an office there not too long ago. I do live there by myself, so there's not going to be, probably as much traffic with my law office if there was if I lived there and had 3 or 4 kids. The driveway is large enough to accommodate 10 to 15 cars. Not that I would need that much at that time, but you can also turn around in the driveway, so you can always go out Mammoth Road facing forward. I think there was two concerns or two issues that I'm aware of. One involves signage, and the other involved, I think, what I anticipated for walk-in traffic. In all the law offices I've ever been at, I've never had a lot of walk-in traffic, probably less than 5%. So I don't anticipate that would, change much here either. In regard to the signage, I think that the zoning board has already specified, what's permitted for signage. And under 6.3.2 of the regulations, it specifies what type of signs would be permitted. So it would be certainly something within that acceptable limits.
So so are you saying you plan on doing some type of signage?
Some type of sign, yes.
Okay. Would it be affixed to the residents, or would it be a freestanding?
I would anticipate freestanding.
Okay.
There is like a section of my property that is, towards the front of the property, and there's no building or anything on that property. It's on the other side of the driveway from where the house is, so I would anticipate putting the sign there.
Right. So, Joe, in the event, if this gentleman is going to propose doing some type of signage, just based on, I'm not saying exactly what he's going to do. I think I have an idea of what he'd like to propose. Would he need to come back in here for that, or if he is able to put something up that wouldn't require that? Do you have any feedback on that?
I'd have to look at it a little bit more closely, but I think so long as it complied with whatever the regulations were under 6.3,
Yeah.
it would not have to.
Yeah, I don't think we have to tie the signage in with why he's here this evening, correct? If in the event in the future he decides to do the sign, he'll have to come before the department anyways to put up the sign, right?
Unless the board wanted some condition over the design aesthetic of it, you wouldn't have to necessarily, if it triggered something under 6.3
Yeah,
that required review, then it would come
I
back.
think you follow where I'm going with this.
Well, yeah, I mean, the way that I read it is that the board has already designated what's acceptable.
Yep.
And so, as long as it's within those acceptable limits, I would assume that it would be permissible for me
Well,
to do.
I don't want to get too far into it yet, but, as long as, I think I would probably do a condition, but the condition would be, working with DPD. We've done this before. Then,
Certainly.
as you guys work it out, if it becomes necessary, you got to come back in here for the signage, then we'll go that road. But
Certainly.
just want to put that out for right now.
Okay.
Anything else you want to tell us about it at this point, or?
Well, I think it will be certainly a benefit in the sense that it'll allow me to do more improvements on the property financially, because I'll be saving money from rent. So, I think that that's an added benefit. Convenience for, any local folk that are interested in getting legal services, Also, the fact that I'm home during the day or in that area during the day, also allows for me to keep a better eye on the neighborhood for, any issues that I may think need to be drawn attention to.
So this is in a TTF zone, and you're planning on, you don't rent it out right now?
I do not, no.
Okay. So am I to assume the business would be located on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay. Anything around, maybe Joe, I'll put this to you, I didn't see anything. Does he have to, anything for ADA as far as home-based
No.
business?
No.
Okay. All right. Didn't see anything, so. The only other observation I made was, and I went directly across the street where there's a,
Apartment building? Mhm.
now, if you plan on putting this home-based business, Joe, regarding the parking, do we need to outline, generally we have a parking plan. Not that I'm saying we needed a full-fledged parking plan to it, but do we need any spaces outlined for a home-based business?
If the board wanted as a condition, you could put it, but it's not a requirement. So if you wanted to designate that a certain number of spaces be delineated on the property to go towards the business use, you could do that. But it's not a requirement under our zoning code.
Well, again, my observation was if it's going to be home-based, and I think what you're also telling us is probably going to be, first of all, I think you talked about, meetings being scheduled. It just isn't people dropping in casually off the street. That was one observation I made was, would it make sense for people visiting? Again, looking at your property straight on, just that as you come in the driveway, it almost looks like you might have 4 parking spots there. I didn't drive up onto your property, but looks like there could be a minimum of 4 that might be able to go in there. You mentioned there's parking for 10. I don't know where the 10
Well,
would be.
You probably couldn't see, but on both sides of the property, on the other side of the driveway, I've parked just in that area alone, 3 or 4 cars.
Yep.
So, I would never anticipate having that many cars there, but, certainly if there were marked spaces, I guess you could probably park more cars depending on how you do it,
Yep.
but I don't know that it would really be necessary to
Yep.
do
Well,
it.
I'm just throwing it out there.
Certainly.
I'm not saying right now.
Right.
I'll see if any other members have any comments on that. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, nothing else at this time.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? In favor? Yes, sir.
I don't have a favor or a negative for it.
You can tell us who you are first?
I am Barry Bell. I live at 236, just up the street from David. I'm not in favor, I'm not opposed. I'm more in favor, to be honest with you. But I have a number of questions that I would like to ask.
Sure, absolutely.
Thank you. I noticed that it is a TTF, and I looked that up on the map. It's traditional 2-family, and it goes from East Meadow down to 4th on the odd side, and it goes down a little further to Ellis on the even side. Why are there so many businesses there now then? Did they come before the zoning board? In other words, why are there 4 and 6 family if it's traditional 2-family? Why is there a residence with tow trucks? And sometimes there's 2 tow trucks in the yard overnight with cars on the tow trucks. Why is there a beauty salon, a golf company, a roofing company that has 6 vans, and the workers come, leave their cars there in the day? There's a big 3-foot by 6-foot sign. Mercia Real Estate, which is gone, but there was a computer company there. That's now vacant, and it's up for rent, I know. But my real question is this, permitting this, is this going to make it easier for other people to open permits if these people, in fact, do have legitimate businesses going? And to be honest with you, I doubt it.
Well, the first thing I'll start with is this board isn't here to address the concerns you have. We're only here to entertain the petitions before us. But with that said, Joe, and this, I'm going to direct a question at Joe because he works for the DPD in the city. Do you have, you heard this gentleman's comments regarding its TTF, there's other business activities. I know the hair salon is directly, is it?
No, it's up quite a bit. It's on the opposite side.
Yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
It's been there for years.
Okay. Any comments you'd like to provide for this gentleman's
Well,
questions?
there could be a number of businesses up there that are considered what's called existing non-conforming, back in 2004, when there was a comprehensive zoning change throughout the city, it could have been before that some of those properties were in a commercial zone, and now they were put in a residential zone. For what exactly the reasoning might have been, I'm not sure. That was back in 2004, before I was with the city. So that could be the instance with a number of businesses over there. Same thing with any buildings that might have 4 units or 6 units. They could have been larger multifamilies from before that zoning change took place.
Well, I'm not going to make it sound like I knew exactly what the answer was. I would assume that's probably what the precedent was. The pre-existing non-conforming, we go through this with other types of petitions that come before us, even with single families. So I hear what Joe says. Hopefully that answers your question, but the issue I have is, I hear you loud and clear, but we're here to entertain this gentleman's petition.
And I agree, and that's,
Yep.
as I said, I'm in favor of his position.
Yep.
But this does make it easier for other companies to come in, to other businesses to come in. Is that not correct?
I'm not going to make a comment on
Okay,
that. unless-
okay.
unless
Who
you
would
want-
I go to for that?
Let me go to Joe on that.
Okay.
For
That's okay.
If you're talking about converting a residential property to a commercial property, it's pretty unlikely that somebody would be able to do that in terms of just converting it for a business use on its own. If you were talking about converting some residents, even be a 4 or 6 family, to some kind of business, a salon, a restaurant, what have you. Just because it is a residential zone, could maybe see a building that's already commercial in nature, already has commercial use ongoing, converted to a different commercial use. Something like that actually requires a special permit in front of this board if it falls into a different use category, so there would be notification to the public, and anybody would have a chance to speak at that time. But in terms of converting something that's residential to something that's specifically for commercial use, that generally isn't allowed in residential zones.
I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but may I speak with him later after the meeting, or what would I do?
Yeah, you can, I mean, you can, as far as I'm concerned, you can come down to City Hall anytime you want to call
I have.
Mr. Janowitz's department and set up a meeting with them and come down and discuss it.
I have.
Okay,
And they've been told to stop, and they haven't.
okay.
That's why I'm saying it's going to be easier. Okay.
Yep.
David mentioned some improvements to the property. It would make it more affordable for improvement to the property. And in my personal opinion, and I'm speaking on behalf of Bob Dufour, who's a direct abutter, but he works evenings for Federal Express. I hope that the fence gets repaired. It's in dire need of repair. I hope that the fence that's not on his property gets put on his property, according to the drawing that's here. There's a fence that I believe he's claiming that's not on his property. He mentions that there's enough space for 10 vehicles to park on his property. If that's the case, and I read the rules for parking and everything, it says that he has to put special trees and shrubbery to block it from the neighbors and that sort of thing. So I think he might want to rethink that 10, especially in what I just heard tonight. What if his situation changes? He says that he's a single person living there, but let's just say he gets married next year. That changes things. Another thing I noticed was that if this permit is granted, it says that it's for 5 years. What does that mean after 5 years? Would be a question that I would have. And I did have a question about the signage. Again, I read the signage. I went to the signage part of it, and it says 2 square feet. I'm wondering if it's going to be lighted. I wonder where it is. I now recognize where he's thinking of putting it. And you did say that it would come up as a separate issue, is that correct? Is that how I heard that to
Well,
be?
the way it'll be entertained is, this gentleman will have to put his proposal before DPD, and then DPD, based on their review with this gentleman, will then make their determination whether the sign falls in or outside of the limits of putting up the signage regulations in the city of Lowell.
Okay,
And if he needs to fall in the regulations, he'll be back here before us again.
okay. And I think my last question, actually I have two. What special precautions will David take regarding the swimming pool? Having people other than himself and his family there. I'm sure he has a fence around it and that sort of thing, but with people that are not part of his property, and the fact that he's got a swimming pool on there, what else will he do for a special precaution for the swimming pool? And I think the last thing I have is, he asked for this permit on August 9th of 2011. Why 2 years? What's going on? So those are my questions. I really am in favor of him, but I do have a few questions, those concerns that I would like to see addressed at some point.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate you coming down.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Anyone else like to speak in favor? Favor? Hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? 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 Hearing none, that portion of the public hearing is closed. Sir, I'm gonna move to the board next, and then you'll definitely have an opportunity
Okay.
to address the board. Okay, Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, to the applicant. Sir, you said there's roughly 10 parking spots on the property. Are those spots marked up or like striped to indicate that they're, okay,
No, they're not.
okay.
I'm just saying that the driveway is big enough. I mean,
Yeah.
I never attempted to park 10 cars there, but in my estimation, that's about what it would be. But no, it's not striped or designated.
Okay. And you said there'll only be one other employee besides yourself. So probably at the most peak time, there'd be 3 or 4 cars parked in your?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Those are the comments I had, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to understand how you plan on structuring the business in the dwelling itself. Do you plan on taking over the first floor, or how many square feet are you thinking of using the house?
I haven't really measured it, but my estimation would be probably would be 3 main rooms. One probably like a client area, one a secretary area, and then one for my office.
And then, is that the entire first floor area then that you'd be taking?
No, then also in the first floor, there's the kitchen, there's, bathroom, and there is a dining room as well. But the 3 areas that I'm thinking about, there's like a separate room that I would probably make the waiting room, and then there's like a foyer that connects to another room, which would probably be like my office and the secretary's office.
Sounds nice, okay. And so the expectation is to only have that kind of square footage for your operation?
Yeah, I've never really needed a whole lot, I mean, I don't have a really large staff, so, I don't really need a whole lot of space.
So we could stipulate that the home office would be contained to 3 rooms in the main dwelling?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, there might be some, I might put files in the basement or something like that, but, yeah, that is right now my anticipation.
I think that makes sense, okay. I have no further questions, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman. Just a couple of comments. I heard, I don't know if it was mentioned, but I heard some people referencing line striping, the petitioner's driveway or the area adjacent to the driveway? You said there was a spot on the,
Yeah, as you go up the driveway, then there's spaces on either side of, you know, where the driveway comes up.
Right.
Like, if you.
no, I remember because I was there. I just, is there an intention that, or to my colleagues, are we looking at a condition for striping? Because I generally, I specifically don't agree with that in a residential home to be,
Yeah, my
striping a
personal
personal
feeling is that,
driveway.
you know, it would, you know, perhaps make it look less residential, but I'll do, you know, whatever. But I don't, you know, given the amount of traffic that I have there, I don't really think it's necessary, because there's gonna be plenty of parking, you know, whether striped or not striped.
and to that point, you mentioned their probability of 10 cars. You don't, there's no anticipating of holding seminars and conferences. It's a single
Correct,
law firm,
correct.
office space, utilizing a space for yourself as a private office, maybe a little conference area / administrative area, and utilize the kitchen and the bathroom as you would in a commercial setting.
Correct.
And restrict it. Okay. I have no further comments. I know by statute the requirements for the pool, so I'm sure you're gonna meet those attractive. For the pool, as it
Oh,
relates
yes,
to the
and,
pool, the
you know,
concerns?
I certainly
track-
appreciate Barry pointing out the concern, and, you know, it's certainly,
It's a valuable concern.
certainly.
I mean, attractive nuisance is.
Certainly,
is a-
certainly,
is a
but, you know,
doctrine.
yeah, provisions will be made so that, you know, no little kids can accidentally open it or anything like that. Not that I'm gonna let people wander around anyway, but, you know, it's
I
a
understand.
valid concern.
Okay, thank you, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I just have some clarifying things. I think it's a good proposal. I don't see it's a bad fit for the site. Going back to the pool, I would like to see it maybe locked or something like that, because you are inviting people onto your property at that point.
You know, like a sign says stay out or keep out or something.
Yeah, or even a
Yeah.
padlock, I mean, which makes it a nuisance.
Yeah.
But at least you can unlock it for the day, but people come in, we're in the inner city, people come with kids and maybe don't watch them as well as some other parents, what have you. They could be sitting in a car just running in, just so it's a secure environment.
Agreed.
I know the neighbor did mention a fence issue. Were you aware that your fence is on the other property?
I was not, and I'm trying to get clarification from the person who did this. I didn't put up the fence.
Okay.
And this was the first survey I've ever had done. And it looks like to me that, yeah, if I'm interpreting it correctly, that the property should be shifted over a little bit. The fence line should be shifted over a little bit from where it is. But, you know, I do plan to replace that fence at some point. And, you know, when that is done, we'll certainly, you know, keep this in mind. And I'll you know, make sure that I speak to the surveyor to make sure I'm
Was it
interpreting.
there when you purchased the property? Because usually
Yeah,
that
it
comes up
was.
during
It was.
I'm surprised, yeah, usually it's not allowed with the deed and what have you when you, so I'm surprised that would get through a closing and mortgages and everything else.
Well, you know, when they usually do they only give you like a plot plan of the property, and you don't see any of the detail that you really see in you know, what's before the board now. So when I saw it, yeah, if I'm interpreting it correctly, yeah, that's the way that it looks. So, you know, I'm going to speak with the surveyor and make sure my interpretation is right, and then try to make the adjustments accordingly.
Okay, yeah, I mean, well, I think you have to clean up the land before you could do anything further with it anyway, so.
Right.
And then my only other comment was additional lawyers hypothetically in the future. If I'd like to limit it to maybe a secretary and yourself on the site versus all of a sudden, God forbid, which would be great, but your business booms and you need additional help. I don't think the site is gonna lend to having that type of 3, 4, 5 lawyers coming and going with their own cars and what have you.
Well, I hope to God you're right, but at this point in my life, it's probably unlikely.
Right, and I agree, but just,
Yeah.
you know, to protect the neighborhood and whatever, I think yourself and a secretary is a safe.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
feel I need any more than that.
Okay.
yeah.
Those are my only comments, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
You've been there since 2004?
Sounds about right.
Yep, okay. You've lived there the whole time, the 9
I
years?
have, yes.
Okay. Joe, did any of the other departments take a look at this? And I'll say specifically fire department, that we
Yeah.
didn't receive anything. I just want to make sure that,
Yeah, we didn't receive any comments back from other departments.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, could I make a quick comment?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to clarify with my comments and questions earlier. I wasn't advocating for striping lanes or marked lanes. I was just kind of wondering if they had it already on the property. So I just wanted to clarify that. I do agree that marked or striped lanes in a residential area makes it look really business or industrial. So
Well, in regards to the striping for the parking, I know I'm the one that talked about it. I said I'd give the board members the opportunity. I think I hear from the members they're not going to place that as a condition. That's okay with me. It was just an observation, and I agree with the gentleman. You do have sufficient space, especially for turnaround, which is one thing about a main thoroughfare. I wouldn't want to see cars trying to back up
Right.
out of there, so at least you do provide. It's my understanding if you're going to be a one-man operation with one secretary, I don't envision, and hopefully we don't, or the city doesn't receive any complaints that all of a sudden you're piling 15 people in there with cars. I don't envision that also. So a couple of the things that I took a look at and made note of, if this was approved around conditions, before I get to the conditions, or maybe I'll include this as a condition. So Joe, if this gentleman sells his property, and my understanding would be if the property is sold, then the business does not exist there. In other words, business doesn't get sold, it stays as a rental property and he stays on. Is there anything, I was trying to look through the language on that. Is that covered or not covered?
I'm not entirely sure that if a general home occupation special permit would apply to the property. I think generally it would, but the board could condition that it applies to only this gentleman's business. That could be a condition that the board could place on the special permit.
I thought I read here, yeah, of course I won't find it now. I believe there was something in here that applied to, I read it in here somewhere. It sounded to me like, in order to have the home business, you had to own the property and basically be there. Let's see.
That's,
Sounds like,
That's why I asked the question about 5 years.
Which one should we move to 5 years, or the transfer of the property which occurs first. Yeah. So
4.34, number 4,
I
It's
see
the-
4.3, 4.4.
right, the very last sentence.
Yeah, no, I know I read through, as I didn't state earlier, this is, since I've been on this board, this is the first time I've had a home occupation come before me. There might be others that could speak otherwise, but, so 4.3.4 was on the, is that before, yep. So I guess all I want to make sure of is, so Joe, to that respect, I know I asked about the sale of the property, but as far as shall be limited, so is it only in place, the permit is only good for 5 years,
Right,
the time of granting?
if Mr. Lavasi wanted to come back before the board, before the special permit came up in 5 years, he would have to come back in front of the board in order for the board to grant an extension of that.
For the brand new,
For-
would he come up with another petition?
Essentially, it'd be,
Okay,
yeah,
yep.
it'd be a public hearing, so.
Okay, so I guess, I'm sure you follow where I'm going with this.
Yes,
So
yes.
for 4 point,
so it seems like it's covered under existing regulations.
okay. So I just want to I had it on here for conditions, but I think I put it there just to remind myself, okay. So I guess one condition I heard was work with DPD on signage, proposed signage, I guess we can say, if such. Kevin, did you mention, are you asking for some type of signage on the fence regarding the pool? Or?
I was more a suggestion.
Okay, okay, so no condition. And, okay, I guess, anybody else have any other conditions?
3, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add a limitation on the amount of space that the home office takes up. Maybe we limit it to the 3 rooms on the first floor, so we don't see that this takes over the whole house.
So, you want
As you mentioned, you were using 3 rooms, so maybe as
Yeah,
a
that,
condition
that's
that we limit it to-
anticipated,
we
plus,
limit
of
it.
course, a bathroom, you know.
Okay, so the home office will primarily utilize the 3 main rooms on the first floor as a condition?
So how many rooms do you have
I
on the
wouldn't
first?
necessarily say they're the main rooms, because I think actually the dining room's a little bit larger, but,
Okay, so
not sure how to best
primarily
describe
utilize
it.
3 rooms on the first floor?
Yes.
Okay.
So, you want 3 rooms? Okay. Well, I would think 3's probably at the minimum. I would think if you had 2 clients in there, you might want to have privacy while you're conducting business.
That's
with
true,
one.
that's true,
Okay. So we'll have 3 rooms.
at
Okay.
least.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. You get both of those? All right. Any other conditions at this point? Yep. Okay, could I have a motion, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZBA 2013-19 at 210 Mammoth Road. Make a motion to approve a special permit, the following conditions. The petitioner must work with DPD related to future or proposed signage, which must comply with current zoning sign ordinance. Second, petitioner will agree the home office is limited to 3 rooms on the first floor.
Could I have a second?
Second the motion.
Have a roll call?
Mr. Hearn,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Bailey,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. McCarthy,
Approve with conditions.
Mr. Peck,
Approve the conditions.
Mr. Perrin.
Approve with conditions.
Okay, sir, you've been approved with conditions.
Thank you.
And just make sure you work with DPD as far as the
Absolutely.
signage goes, and beyond that, wish you the best of luck.
Appreciate that, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, can I have you, I got one more petition. You can stay if you want, but if you want to continue your discussion. Okay, our next order of business is under new business. This is ZB 2013-16. The petition is a special permit and variance. Applicant is Hazelwood Hopkins. Property is located at 732 Rogers Street, and the petition is to install a new freestanding sign for an existing auto dealership pursuant to Section 6.3 of the zoning ordinance. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Hazelwood Hopkins, 2 Phoebe Way, Worcester, Mass., and I'm a sign permit consultant and representing this application. And with me tonight is Mr. Paul Greenan. He's the parts director at the 495 Chrysler dealership, and he might be able to answer any questions about the dealership that I can't. And we'd like to apologize for his arriving late. He thought the meeting started at 7. And thank you for pushing us along.
Sure.
And I'm sorry I have to wear my sunglasses. They're prescription. I don't have my others, so I apologize for that.
It's okay with me.
I didn't want to appear rude. We are asking to remove an existing freestanding sign on the lot, and I believe you have a photograph of that. It was in our packet. If you do not, I have extras. And replace it with a new, larger freestanding sign. And if you have this drawing in your packet in color?
Yes, we do.
Perhaps
Yep,
Yes?
yep. You show the original sign on top and then the proposed below it?
That is correct.
Okay.
The
Yep.
proposed sign measures anywhere between 96 and 103 square feet, depending how you measure it. There are a couple of odd little jogs, but basically 103 square feet, and it's 30 feet to the top. I do want to point out that the only illumination on this sign are the graphics. The face of each panel is aluminum, so there is no light coming through any of the faces or through the pole. So only the graphics will illuminate. And I did hear the board ask the previous petitioner about LED. This sign is not LED, and it does not lend itself to the LED application because the graphics are small and only the graphics light, and they wouldn't light evenly with the LED. So this is a traditional fluorescent tube light. However, the light only comes through the graphics on each panel. I did receive today the recommendation from Planning and Development, and they did make a comment about the existing freestanding sign and the size of it, and we would like to try to correct the record. The sign does measure 51 square feet, but in 2009, and I have a copy of that decision, 495 Chrysler came before this board to add the message center that is below the Jeep 5-star sign box. There is an electric message center that this board granted in '09, which has increased the size, the overall size of that freestanding sign from 51 to closer to 100. So what we're actually asking to do is to replace the existing sign at around 100 square feet with a new sign at around 100 square feet. The existing sign, it's true, is 20 feet in height, and the proposed sign is 30 feet in height.
Okay, so are we saying back in 2009, we replaced, or do we just grant the scroller underneath?
That's correct. In 2008, the board granted the sign, the principal sign, and the illumination, and in 2009, they granted a variance to add the electronic message center to increase the overall size.
Okay, so if I can just stop you for a quick minute. So Joe, based on those 2 points, do you agree with, I don't want to say you're making it up, don't take it that way.
I understand.
No, because I had questions about that sign to begin with. Did you come down here before? Yeah, I thought I recognized you. It's funny how I can remember some things and other things I can't. Can you just shed a little light on the structure around the scroller underneath, just so, because I know this woman just explained it. Can you just make sure what she's saying is actually what happened?
Well, I'm not entirely familiar with the old petitions, but generally from what it sounds like, that the graphic that was included in the packet before the board tonight simply just didn't include the message board as part of the existing condition square footage. So what it seems like is that with the message board included in that, it would be close to what is proposed in terms of the overall size of the sign.
Yep.
But the message board before went under, so it didn't increase the height. Now, the proposed sign is just simply looking to also additionally increase the height of the sign by 10 feet.
Okay. If you want to, I'm sorry about that, I just wanted to get
I
clarification.
understand.
Go ahead.
And further, even though I don't have the evidence of it, and Mr. Greenan perhaps could speak to it, there was a previous sign at this location prior to the photo you're looking at. that was 30 feet in height and close to 100 square feet. It got replaced with a smaller sign, he believes accidentally, through the sign maker. Then they added the message center to give it more visibility, and now we're coming back only because all of the Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealerships are being updated. At some point, they'll come in with wall signs because they're going to do a new fascia. But in my business, we've already done permit work around Massachusetts at about 20 different locations, upgrading the signage, upgrading the look, making it cleaner and neater, and as I say, installing a pylon sign that does not have any face lighting. That's a new aspect for the Chrysler signage.
Okay. Anything else you like that?
I think I do not have anything else, except it will be turned off, whatever the regulation is, an hour or two after closing.
Okay.
And that's all I have for you, Mr. Chairman.
So you mentioned you looked through the comments that DPD had made in relationship to the proposed sign. And I think you talked about their comment was proposal would double the size of the current signage on the site. And did you say you agreed with that or didn't agree
I
with it?
disagree with that because of
Yep.
the message center,
Okay.
which was added to the pylon.
Yep.
And I don't think the recommendation of planning took that into consideration, but because Joe did some research for me at multiple addresses on Rogers Street, and I reviewed and researched, I did come up with this addition for 2009. And if I might make one more comment, it's a very commercial area, as you well know. There are multiple automobile dealerships along that stretch of Rogers Street before it becomes more residential. There are multiple internally illuminated, oversized signs. I myself have been before this board, interestingly enough, on 2 occasions. I found the old paperwork from Joe on that. So we have asked this board through the years for freestanding signs on Rogers Street for multiple automobile dealers that are in excess of the height, in excess of the size, and internally illuminated, and the board has granted that. I just wanted to point that out for that area.
Okay. And for the record, I thought you were familiar looking too.
For the record, what?
I thought you were familiar looking too.
Thank you.
Must have been the glasses. Okay.
Could Mr. Greenan make any comment?
Absolutely.
That he might want to?
Yep, sure. You just want to introduce yourself, sir?
Yeah, I'm Paul Greenan, and I'm the parts director at 495 Chrysler Jeep Dodge, and I was involved in the illuminated sign. That's a freestanding sign, not connected to the other sign at all, and that was part of the stipulation. It had to be. So that if push came to shove, we could take that right down, and the other one would be there, or the one would be there, and that would still be there. They were freestanding, independent of each other, and that was part of the ruling on the board. Prior to 2008, there was a 30-foot sign. It was on the other side of the property, more near the parking lot to the ball field, which is about the same size as the GMC sign across the street. A little bit taller than the Mazda sign that is right behind ours, which actually makes it look like ours. And we're just trying to get some definition out of it. When we took over the franchise, Chrysler was in dire straits, and they just wanted to get a sign up because they had to take the other one down. So they came in and got that particular size sign with the intention of coming back to go for the larger sign. And then, of course, they went bankrupt, and now they've changed the way the buildings are all going to look, and now they're back in with the signs. And basically, that's about it. The sign goes off at 11 o'clock at night, and comes on, now it comes on about 9.
Yep. Okay.
Same with the electronic one.
Okay.
Okay?
Good, thank you. Okay, gonna open it up to the public. Anyone here like to speak in favor of this petition? Favor, hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Anyone like to speak in opposition? Opposition, hearing none, that portion of public hearing is closed. Open it up to the board. Van?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the new proposal, I think the overall coloring looks very good, and I think there might be some height issues, but I think my colleague will comment on that. But besides that, I think this is a good application. Those are all the comments I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Dennis?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to understand what the sign looks like at night. I'm looking at a image here, I think, of what it would look like during the day, right?
If I understand correctly, sir, the flat image you're looking at is exactly the way it'll look in the day. You'll see an aluminum shine to the panels, and you'll see the colors of the graphics. And at night, when the sign is illuminated, all you will see are the graphics. You will not see the face in any way because there'll be no light shining on the face. It makes it a very subtle light. Did I answer the question, sir?
Mostly. So the text in Chrysler and Ram are black, and during the night, it turns white? Is that right?
Correct.
Okay,
I'm sorry, I missed that point. That
No,
is
no, no,
absolutely correct.
that's fine. So it's an improvement over what is there now in that we have a large white illuminated sign with the text as well. So it's going to be just the text that's illuminated?
That's correct. The sign that's there now have white translucent faces so that the light shines through the face and through the vinyl lettering. The new sign,
Yep.
as you point out, would only shine through the lettering.
And you're removing the message board completely, so there's no
Completely.
message board?
And I'm absolutely correct about that, aren't I? Well, then I stand corrected. I'm going to have you address Mr. Greenan
To
on
the
that.
best of my knowledge, the message board is staying.
And would it stay underneath the
It
new
would stay
sign?
underneath, yes. It wouldn't be brought up any higher, it would be at the same height, freestanding on its own.
The message board as it stands right now is probably 8 feet or 9 feet above grade, and you'd be putting it at approximately 18 feet above grade, so you're moving it quite a bit higher. In addition, this sign package doesn't mention the message board.
No, it does not. I was under the impression from the sign maker that the message board was being removed, and I apologize for that misinformation. Can we agree to remove it?
I can't make the recommendation. That's, the sign that is being proposed is furnished by Chrysler Corporation, which is the sign there. The other sign is owned by 495 Chrysler Jeep Dodge. And to best of my knowledge, the owner has said that the original sign, the second sign, the illuminated sign is staying.
Could I consult with my colleague for a moment?
Absolutely, sure, good.
Here are my instructions. I don't know what to do. Mr. Chairman, if the board feels that this is a concern, we could request a continuance. I could clarify with the sign maker and with Chrysler and with the property owner.
Sure.
And if we need to amend the proposal to include the reader board, I could ask Joe what the process would be for that. Or I could have it confirmed that it would absolutely be removed and get something in writing for you so that we could present that.
Yeah, I think what I'll do, though, is I'll just see if any of the other members have any other questions, at least at this point, and then I'll say I agree at this point, but I'll just...
I see.
Dennis, did you have anything else you wanted to...
I just wanted to understand more fully how the LED light source is not equivalent to the fluorescent light source in lighting the text, because it's my understanding and my experience that it would be successful, and I would love to see the LED instead of the fluorescent on the next iteration.
Well, that's a second concern I could perhaps get more information about.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Gary?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, if I could refer you to this the signage document, recommendation detail E-03. There's a comment in the text under inventory. It says, existing reader board beneath the pylon will need to be removed by the dealer to accommodate installation of new sign.
Yes, sir, that's what we just discussed, because those are my marching orders
Okay.
from Chrysler through the sign maker, but Mr. Greenan
Right.
disagrees with that.
All right, so this is an internal
I
concern.
think so.
Very well, I just want to clarify that. Thank you.
Thank you. Kevin?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I think we do need that clarification. It's my thought that there are actually two separate existing signs now, each having their own stanchion, correct? One's a sign, and then the reader board stands on its
Reader
own
board is on a
pedestal.
separate stanchion and footing, and so is the other sign.
They're close to each other, but
And
yeah, it's-
They're close, but
Yeah.
there's that much
Right, right.
between them. If you walked up there, you'd see it. If you're driving by, you may
you
not
might
see
not
it.
even know.
I think it was done to make it appear as one sign box.
Gotcha, okay. But because of,
But the
For whatever
permit was-
reason, it couldn't
The permit
handle-
was originally issued, that it was a freestanding separate sign, had nothing to do with the other sign.
Okay.
It was
okay, yeah,
conditions.
unfortunately, I think we need further clarification in my mind to be able to move forward. Thank you.
So, I have nothing else further, but Joe, I'll direct the questions to you. Next meeting date is, I don't have my schedule in front of me.
It's gonna be July 8th.
July 8th, okay. Based on what we've discussed so far, is there anything DPD would need to see or we need to see before they come back in? In other words, the petition and the application was written as such. Are we okay with that, and they just need to come back with a modified plan?
Yeah, in terms of notice, both a special permit and a variance were applied for, so I think in terms of notice, both those aspects are covered. In terms of the board's review, it would be, and DPD's review as well, our assumption was that the reader board was going to be removed based on the
Yep.
plan that was submitted. So if the reader board is proposed to stay
Yep.
as part of the package, then we would ask for an updated plan to be submitted such that it could be reviewed by
Okay.
staff.
How much time do you think you need? There's no rush on our end. I mean, if you need a couple of weeks, if you need a month, we're meeting July 8th and then
July 22nd would be the next one after that.
8th and the 22nd.
Well, Mr. Green would like to take the July 8 date. However, I am out of town on vacation that week, and I don't know the protocol of the board, if it would be too difficult to have a substitute for me to deal with. If you'd rather have the meeting held when I'm available, I would defer to the...
Joe, do you know what the schedule is with the, how many petitions we have for the 8th? Is it a light schedule?
Just one.
I'll leave that to you. If you want to send a representative, or if you feel more comfortable you want to be here in person, then we have the 8th and then we have the 22nd.
But it's all right with you, whether I'm here or a substitute is here.
I'm very flexible. So,
Thank you very much.
no, if you want to make it the 8th, I would like it if you need more time, and I always tell petitioners this, don't feel like you need to be rushed in the,
Well, do you think we would get it resolved one way or the other by the
They're
8th?
gonna be resolved by noon tomorrow, but
Be resolved by noon tomorrow. So we will settle on July 8th,
okay.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, so can I have a motion for a continuance to July 8th, please?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the matter before us, ZB 2013-16 at 732 Roger Street for a special permit and variance. I make a motion to continue to our next meeting on July 8th, 2013.
Have a second?
Second motion.
A roll call?
Mr. Hearn,
Continue to July 8th.
Mr. Bailey,
Continue to July 8th.
Mr. McCarthy,
Continue to July 8th.
Mr. Peck,
Continue to July 8th.
Mr. Perrin.
Continue to July 8th.
Okay, so we'll hopefully see a
Someone,
couple of people here on July 8th, and appreciate, an updated plan submitted to us, and we'll go from there.
and I would actually try to get it into Joe prior to...
Yeah, I guess the last thing I'll leave you with is, the sooner you can get the information to Joe, the sooner the board can get it, instead of you know, the day of.
Yes.
or-
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Paul?
I have just one,
Sure, go
I
ahead.
guess, question or whatever. I do not believe that Chrysler uses digital or LED lighting in any of their signs. They use a low electricity fluorescent tube. Why, I don't know, but I don't think any of their signs are available with LED lights. So if that's going to be a problem, then we'll have to deal with that again.
Well, I'm not gonna state that it's gonna be a problem. We'll
Deal
deal
with
with
it then.
that when you come back.
And I'll try to get
And I'll get some
something
information.
in
make
writing.
Sure.
I believe that's the case.
Sure,
Okay,
okay.
thank you very
Right.
much.
Thank you very
Good
much.
night.
Thank you.
Okay, next order of business, under other business, is the minutes for June 10th, 2013. Any comments, corrections? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
Through you,
For
Mr.
approval.
Chairman, I make a motion to approve our minutes for our meeting on June 10th, 2013.
Have a second?
Second?
Roll call?
Mr. Hearn,
Approved.
Mr. Bailey,
Approved.
Mr. McCarthy,
Approve.
Mr. Peck,
Approve.
Mr. Perrin.
Approve.
Okay, any other comments? Any of the board members? Hearing none, our next meeting is July 8th, so I'd make a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Have a second?
Second.
So moved.